welcome to this edition of India Revival Mission. I'm Nayantara Rai. Our guest today on India Revival Mission is Xiaomi. And joining me is the India boss, Manu Jain. Thank you so much for taking the time out to being a part of Times Network's India Revival Mission. Manu, 2020 would have been a very tough year for you and Xiaomi in particular because Xiaomi is Chinese. We know about the border incursions, what happened thereafter. How did you battle with that, and are you still battling this perception?
First of all, thank you so much, Nayantara, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here and looking forward to our interaction. Last 1 year was definitely tough, extremely tough for us. And the biggest thing which impacted us was the entire COVID lockdown and our inability to scale up our supply because of this. Regarding the cross-border thing, I wouldn't really comment on it. I know about it. But for a company like ours, which has been truly building phones for India, in India, by Indians, I don't think that was anything of a significant concern. If you look at our entire leadership team, here is made of Indians. The phones, we have a product team, R&D team in India. We are manufacturing all our phones, all our TVs in India. And not just this, I'm happy to share starting January 2021, significant number of components that we're using in our phones are also locally manufactured or assembled or sourced from India. So yes, last year was tough, but the biggest thing that we faced was COVID and lockdown. Because once COVID hit, once lockdown was there, thousands of people who work in our factories, they went back to their villages and their towns. And it was very tough for us to bring them back and bring them back in a safe environment, giving them residential facility, dorms, ensuring that we maintain social distancing, and how do we get them back and supply and ensure that the supply ramps up to meet the demand. So it was definitely very interesting.
So Manu, can you tell us, are you back to pre-COVID levels? And I'm talking not about sales right now, I'm first talking about manufacturing.
Yes. So if you look at till March, and if you look at just the external numbers such as IDC, they say we used to do more than 10 million phones every single quarter. And when I say phones, I mean smartphones only because we don't sell feature phones. So as per IDC report, we used to sell more than 10 million smartphones every single quarter, which is about 30% of Indian smartphone market. And this came down crashing from 10 million a quarter to zero in Q2, April, May, June. Because April and mid-May was lockdown, and even when the lockdown was over, it was very tough for us to bring back the team, the manpower back to factories. And then Q3 was a little bit better, but still significantly smaller. And in Q3, which is July, August, September, we were forced to also import devices. And then Q4 was actually very good, and we managed to scale up for the Diwali season. And today, as we speak, we are actually ahead of the pre-COVID world. Now, one of the biggest things that we did during this 9-10 month period, we saw that the demand was so much higher, and demand had actually gone up during this lockdown, during COVID period, because everybody wanted to buy a smartphone. Smartphone turned out to be the most essential commodity after food and medicines. Everybody wanted to buy a smartphone for work from home and study from home. So I'm happy to share that during this COVID, during this pandemic, we have added 2 new partners, DBG and BYD, for our local manufacturing. So earlier, our phone manufacturing was being done by 2 partners, Foxconn in Sri City, Andhra Pradesh, and in Tamil Nadu. And Flex was a partner who was manufacturing phones for us in Tamil Nadu. And now we are adding 2 new factories, BYD in Tamil Nadu and DBG in Haryana. And they have also started manufacturing phones for us. The first factory which has gone live is DBG in Haryana, and with this our capacity is further increasing by 10%. And the BYD factory is supposed to go live anytime soon, and hopefully by Q2, which is April, May, June, our capacity should further increase. So we are already at the same level or ahead of what we were in the pre-COVID, lockdown period, and we are planning to further increase the capacity in India.
You want to further increase capacity in India, that is Xiaomi's plans. Can you share with us what kind of capacity additions, what kind of segments? Is this primarily for, to sell in India? Are you exporting from India? Do you plan to do that?
Okay. So our capacity pre-COVID was we could manufacture 3 phones every single second. And now with this 20% increase, we can actually manufacture more than 3.5 phones every single second. So every time you just snap a finger, we can produce 3.5 phones across all these factories of Foxconn, Flex, DBG, and BYD. And this will further go up once the BYD factory is full up and running. We started exporting small quantities last year. Our plan was to start exporting significant quantities from India in the year 2020, and we started exporting small quantities in neighboring countries such as Bangladesh and Nepal. But because of COVID, because of lockdown, it was very tough because we couldn't even supply to the local domestic market. So it was tough for us to increase our exports. And right now, the demand for local domestic market is so high that our first and the most important priority is to meet the demands of the local market. And once we do this, we will ensure that we also start ramping up our export. This may happen sometime this year or maybe next year, we don't know. But our first and most important priority is to start expanding our local domestic supply for the local demand. And this is not only on phones, but even on many other segments such as TVs. We are opening a new factory for TVs. We used to manufacture with a partner called as Dixon, and we are now opening a new factory on TVs with a partner Radiant. And now 100% of our TVs are locally manufactured in India.
So it's not assembled, it is manufactured. I want to get that connection in. I'm also going to ask you one question, which is that you're now manufacturing 3.5 phones every second, higher from 3 phones a second during COVID-19. Manu, you're saying it's 100% manufactured in India. Is it 100% assembled in India or manufactured? If I look typically, how much of the sourcing is from India? How much of it comes from China?
Understood. So, and thanks for asking this question. This is a very important and relevant question. If you remember 5 years ago when we started our Make in India journey. So by the way, Xiaomi in India, or MI in India is only a 6-year-old company, right? We started in 2014 and globally the company is 10-year-old. We are listed in Hong Kong and in the India company is only about 6-year-old. Now, 5 years ago when we started our Make in India journey, a lot of people said, why do you want to make phones in India? Because there are no component suppliers. And phone manufacturing is basically assembly, or TV manufacturing is assembly, where you buy components such as camera module, display, battery, and other pieces, and you put this together into a phone or a TV. So when we started phone manufacturing or phone assembly, it was a tough decision because people said there are no component suppliers. So why do you want to do phone? And the reason why there were no component suppliers was because there were no phone manufacturers. So it was a chicken and egg problem. So the first thing that we did, we said we are going to, along with our partner Foxconn, we are going to set up a local manufacturing unit. Now, once we have this local manufacturing unit, there will be an incentive for people to come and start manufacturing components for us. And once that happens, even the raw material of these component suppliers will also start coming to India. If you look at the supply chain today, the smartphone supply chain, it is all across the world. There are components coming from China. There are components or raw material coming from Taiwan. There's component raw material coming from Korea. There are raw material components coming from Japan, from US, and also from Europe. So different parts of the world are supplying components today. Now let's look at our smartphone. 5 years ago when we started, we were only assembling phones, manufacturing phones in India. 2 years ago, we took the next big step when we started manufacturing or assembling PCBs, which is the biggest component on which the chipset is mounted, memory, storage, everything is mounted, and which almost contributes to 50% of the value of the phone. We started assembling or manufacturing that in India. The next big piece was the subboard. So if you open the phone, on the top there's a motherboard, and on the bottom there's a subboard in which the charging port and other connections go. We started assembling or manufacturing those subboards in India. Then in the middle of COVID, we started manufacturing 3 other key parts. One is battery, second is back panel, and now happy to share in starting January 2021, we are also starting to manufacture camera modules in India. So now we have motherboard, subboard, camera module, back panels, batteries, and all these things being manufactured. And not just this, even boxes, chargers, cables that go with the phone are all locally manufactured in the country. Now, if you combine all of these things together, they contribute to about 75% of the value of the phone.
Can you tell me that, with all these plans that are in place, where you're even talking to your partners to shift electric component manufacturing to India, how much is MI planning to invest in India, let's say over the next 5 years? How much has it already invested in the last 6 years?
Okay. I think in the first 3 years itself, we had shared a number that we had invested more than $500 million. But from 2014 until sometime in 2017 beginning, we had invested more than $500 million in the country. With respect to our manufacturing, service centers, warehouses, retail stores, everything combined. Of course, that investment has gone significantly more, but now since we're a public listed company, we need a board committee approval before I can share the financial numbers with you of how much investment. But what I can say is each of these factories, and I would love to take you around these factories once the COVID situation gets a little bit normalized. Each of these factories are state of the art. For example, if you look at PCP, these are all robotic arms and the machinery which is being imported from different parts of the world. And each of these machines cost millions of dollars. And we have several such machines in each of these lines. And they're like several lines producing PCBAs, subboards, and many other high-tech components. So this definitely requires a huge amount of investment. This is an upfront cost that the company is investing directly or indirectly, either directly or through one of our partners. But we then pay it back to a partner, either as an upfront money that we give to the partner so that they come and set up a manufacturing unit, or we put it in the pricing of the components so that the partner is able to recover this money in a short period of time. So a significant amount of investment is going on. If in the first 3 years when we were a bit still smaller, we were still not making all these components, we were still not making 100% of phones in India, we'd invested $500 million by then. Of course, today the investment would be significantly more. But being a public listed company, I cannot share the exact financial numbers with you, except for what we declared on the stock exchange.
But Manu, can you also share with us that, when you are operating in India, has it been difficult to incur capital expenditure, to invest in since 2020 to get capital from your parent company, simply because of the new rules that have come in place, and once again, because of the border issues and the standoff that we've seen since then?
Not really, because you'll be happy to know that we have been a profitable firm. For the first 2 years, when we were investing a lot of money, we were not able to generate profit. And since then, since after 2 years operation, we've always been profitable. We don't make a lot of profit. At the company, we have a unique philosophy called as honest price, which means, and to the best of my knowledge, I have not heard of any other company in the world which has this philosophy, where we have capped the profit to a maximum margin. Usually companies have a minimum threshold for profit that I will not make less than 5%, less than 10%. We say we will not make more than 5%. So any device that we'll sell, we will never make more than 5% profit margin. So we don't make a lot of profit, but we do make some little bit of profit. And luckily the company has been profitable for last few years locally here in the country. So whatever profit we generate and then we retain, we invest that back, all of that, into initiatives such as this, which is setting up manufacturing units, setting up our retail stores, setting up our service centers. For example, you'll be surprised to know, in last 2 years, we have set up 3,000 exclusive retail stores. In last 4 or 5 years, we have set up 2,000 plus service centers in the country. And all of this investment has come from the accrual that the India business has done while generating small amount of profits from every single device that we have sold. So the business is profitable, we generate profit from here, and then we deploy all that profit back into the growth.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my next question. Have you had to fight any perception battle with consumers? You've had a government which is talking about how, vocal for local, Atmanirbhar Bharat, that's a clarion call from the Prime Minister. What has the consumer behavior been like?
I think very, very positive, right? And I would say, if you look at from a spirit perspective, just from a spirit, right? I don't think there's anybody who's pushing the whole make in India, make for India, and not just like pure assembly, but even component manufacturing as much as we are doing. 2 years ago, I don't know if you know this, we got 50 of our global suppliers to come down to India in a supply conference. And government of India and various state governments met them. And we tried convincing 50 of our biggest global suppliers to start coming and manufacturing units here. Today, we are seeing many of these components being locally manufactured, like our camera module, like a back panel, like a battery. All of this has happened because we started this work 2 years ago in that supplier conference, where we said either we will cultivate local partners who will manufacture for us as per our quality standards, or we will get some of our global suppliers to start coming and manufacturing in India. So from that perspective, in spirit, I don't think there's anybody who has pushed the envelope, who has pushed the pedal so much on localization of components for electronics manufacturing as much as we have done. We would be one of the highest, if not the highest in the country. So we are really proud of this. This is something that we always tell our Mi fans, our consumers. We have a direct mode of communication. We organize, you'll be surprised to know we have Mi fan clubs in about 28 cities, the largest cities, where people meet on a regular basis, discuss about technology, discuss about Xiaomi, and all of this move virtually. So we try and educate our Mi fans, our users about all the things that they're doing here in the country. And these are the people, these are young people. They become our brand ambassadors and they tell their friends and families amongst their social circle on what Xiaomi or MI or Redmi is doing in the country. So that, at least from user perspective, we see that love from users still very, very strong. We still see every user who buys a phone, usually on an average, convinces 2.5 other people to buy our devices. And we don't have any brand ambassador. We don't have any huge marketing budgets like any other brand. It's surprising, right? That we are the largest brand in the country for 3.5 years now, and we have the smallest marketing budget. We literally spend like negligible amount of money on marketing or advertising. And the reason why we are so big is only because these Mi fans, people who love us, they talk great things about us in their social circle. So at least from the love perspective, I have not seen anything go down in last 1 year or 2 years or even longer period of time.
Now, Manu, when all of this is also going on, the Union Cabinet has approved a production-linked incentive scheme, which is going to be for tablets, laptops, etc. What does this mean for consumer electronic companies like MI? Is it a space at all that interests you? Can you even be eligible for this? If others are going to be then eligible, what is it going to mean for MI?
I think both the schemes the government came up with a few years ago on the PMP scheme, which is Phased Manufacturing Plan, and the latest one, the Production Linked Incentive Scheme, which is PLI, are phenomenal schemes. And I think these are path-breaking. Like very few countries in the world have adopted strategies like this, what government of India has done. And I genuinely think these are like great initiatives, great things being used by the government of India. PMP, of course, we've been pushing very hard. And as I said, a large number of components are already being sourced or manufactured or assembled here in the country. PLI is given to a manufacturer. So if you look at our business model, the way that we operate, we design the device, the hardware and the software, and then we buy these components and we give it to our partners such as Foxconn, Flex, BYD, DBG, who then manufacture these phones and give it back to us on contract manufacturing.
Manu, I'm going to make this my final question. You told me that the smartphone became almost like an essential item during the lockdown. Of course it was. How many smartphones did MI sell during 2020? Can you share that with us? You told me how manufacturing is back and higher than pre-COVID levels. What about sales?
Sales, of course, sales is following supply because right now the demand is higher than what we can supply even today. If we are producing 100 units, we believe we can sell like 120, 130, 140. If you look at the IDC numbers, we ended the market at about 27, 28% market share for the year. And the entire year was 140 million units approximately, which means, if I'm just doing the rough maths, 27, 28% of 140 million should be approximately 35, somewhere between 35 and 40 million units. So that's what Xiaomi did. If you look at the IDC numbers, that's what Xiaomi sold as the number of smartphones in the year 2020. And just to be clear, this is practically over 9 months, not 12 months, because 3 months of April, May, June were almost zero for everybody, including Xiaomi. So this is January, February, March, July, August, September, October, November, December, 9 months, approximately somewhere between 35 and 40 million units.
Okay. With that, Manu, we'd like to thank you for taking the time out for joining us on this edition of the India Revival Mission. Look forward to more interviews.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.